Okay.
Perfect. So before we continue, can you please say your full name, your pronouns, and where you are from?
Yeah, I'm Megan Guest. I tend to go by Meg. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm from London, United Kingdom.
Perfect. Do you agree to the terms and conditions outlined in the ICA's informed consent and copyright permission form that I shared with you over email?
I do, yes.
Perfect. Can you share a little bit with us about your background? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in the north of England, actually, in Yorkshire. And it was kind of like a working class area. So a lot of the people in kind of my area, my town, and also my family never went to university. So I'm the first person in my family to go to university. And so it was quite an interesting experience actually growing up in that kind of environment, because I always had the ambition to go. I didn't know it was for archives and records management at the time of being young, but I'd always wanted to pursue further education. So, you know, right the way through, you know, high school into college, applying for universities. It was a bit more common when I was up to the point of applying, but certainly when I was in my high school years, it was something more uncommon. So getting kind of the support with that dream was a bit difficult for me.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you remember what a typical school day looked like back then when you were still young?
See, it was, I guess, I went to a state secondary school, so it was very kind of typical, I suppose, English secondary school experience. Different types of subjects each day and different classes. We had a system of, I suppose it was kind of like grading students within the year. So you were split into ability groups. So, you know, there were different like levels of maths, for example, taught. Yeah, so that's kind of what the school day was like, and then, you know, lunch in the middle.
Okay, so your educational background was it based on archives and records management from the beginning, or can you just take us back then based on your educational background?
So not from the beginning, no. So actually I was quite interested in sciences, first of all, as a child, and then as I kind of moved through high school, I became interested in the topic of anthropology, which is the study of people and culture. And it was that point that I decided I wanted to study that at university for my undergraduate degree. So from then on, I was kind of working towards that point. I went to college, which is our 17 to 18 education in the UK. And studied kind of towards that end. So I took courses such as English language, film, biology and chemistry, because there is some kind of slight scientific aspect to some anthropology, so I hadn't picked it exactly at the moment. So I did those kind of topics. I knew that I wanted to go into anthropology, and then actually it was while doing the very last year of my college education that we had a work experience placement. So because I knew I wanted to do anthropology at university, I went to the history department and I said, what can you offer me? You must have the closest things possible. And I ended up in my local archives and local studies centre in Barnsley. And that's the first time I'd really encountered an archive. I couldn't say I had much awareness of them before that date had been about 17. But I went in there for the 2-week placement and I just fell in love with it. It was kind of the more public-facing side, but then also some of the like organisational of the actual records. And I, really enjoyed using, like the microfiche technology they had, writing reports for people, helping them to solve essentially the mysteries of their life through the use of these records that had been kept by our local centre. Yeah, so from then on, I went on to do my degree, and throughout my degree, I kept volunteering. So I went to places like the National Archive and the British Museum, and just anywhere that was taking me, really. I kind of cold called a few places because I knew at that point kind of the expectations to entry on a postgraduate course. I'd done some research and knew, that here for our courses in the UK, you need around about 6 to 12 months experience before application. So I was working towards gaining that through volunteering activities while I was studying.
And while you were studying, do you feel like you were supported to keep volunteering, to learn, to build your skills?
I would say in the majority of volunteering placements I was in, it was very supportive. I think that's kind of one of the benefits of this profession, is that everybody knows what you have to go through to get here, to get to, being a professional. So it was very supportive in that sense, but in terms of my personal circumstances, I was studying full-time. I was also working part-time for the university while finding any volunteer placement I could. So it was a little bit difficult for me. I was also living away from my family, so I came down to London for university. Yeah, so I didn't have any kind of financial support. I was supporting myself and my partner through that time. So it was a bit difficult, but it was really worth it for me. It's something I knew I was very passionate about. So I pushed through whenever I could.
And what about professional, what do you feel like, did you know about any of these professional associations? Do you think that, and if you did, do you think that they helped you or supported you?
Yeah, I was aware of a few, but at that time I wasn't eligible to join. So I was doing my undergrad in a different subject. I was just volunteering, usually on short-term placements. So everything that I looked into, it was quite difficult for me to find a way in. And then, membership fees, of course, helped the organisation to run, but they weren't something that was really that accessible to me at the time. I am a member of ARA, the Archives and Records Association for the UK and Ireland now, but that's only since starting my first professional role where I've been able to apply as an individual member.
Megan, you're fading away. I think we can't hear you from this side. I'm not sure if it's me only. Oscar, can you hear Megan?
Only a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Let me just
reposition
myself. Is that better? Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Sorry.
And there's like a ticking in the background.
Oh.
Yeah, or like something very.
I'm not sure what that is. Sorry, I don't have anything.
Okay.
Okay. So after studying, obviously, for records, for archives and records management, so you had to do that internship to get experience. So how did you feel when starting working with the archival records, or what was your experience? Because working with archival documents is quite fascinating, especially when it's something that is, maybe it's an archival document that relates to your background or interest. So how did you feel about it when starting working with such important documents in the, so can you please take us back then when you started working with such documents?
Yeah, so through my kind of various volunteer placements, they were mostly in heritage organizations, both kind of local and more national. So I think for me, it wasn't really the case that I was necessarily represented in any of those documents. You know, they were either things from like business records or other people's family trees, not from my direct area of you know, birth. So yeah, it wasn't so much that I had a personal connection, but I did really feel a connection with the people wanting access to those documents and that information. I think with my first experiences being public facing and being able to see and hear the passion of the people that are looking for records, looking for information, looking for answers, that really kind of drew me to the sector even more, that there was, you know, such an impact that could be made just from simply providing access to something. And then, you know, I went on to learn about the whole preservation process that goes before being able to hand over that record. And it just became something really important to me. And I've kind of always been the type of person to be kind of concerned about what information, what gets lost and whose stories don't get told. So that's something that I'm really interested in forefronting in my work going forward. And yeah, hopefully providing that lost information to a greater range of people in the future.
Okay, and what kind of challenges did you experience in the beginning or currently now? And how are you dealing with those type of challenges? Because I know from my side, it's dealing with copyright issues where a researcher or anyone within the company will want to use a certain photo, but because of copyright issue, maybe we don't own the copyright at the institution, only have it, but we cannot use it or share it with other people. So what kind of challenges are you experiencing and how are you handling those type of challenges?
Yeah, so in the past, so for example, when I was kind of working on inquiries for people, for essentially kind of closed reading rooms where it was, you know, a process of appointment for them to come and see things, we would do some pre-discovery for them. And I always recall one incident where somebody wrote to us from overseas and requested some fairly specific information, asked if we had it, and we looked every which way in our collection, thought logically, laterally to try and find this for them, and unfortunately we just didn't have it. So we had to go back to them and say, you know, we don't have this, but our colleagues at this place and this place might do. And then at that point, it was kind of my first experience with a challenge, with a pushback from a user, and they were determined that we were withholding this information from them. And that's something, as my kind of career has progressed, that it's just, you know, even more nonsensical to me than it was at the time, that it's absolutely against our ethics as archivists and records managers to withhold information that can be made accessible. That's what we're all about. So yeah, it's always kind of a funny incident that I remember, and we had to go back to them in the end and say, no, we're really not withholding it. It's not a cover-up, it's not a conspiracy. We are trying our best, and, you know, sorry, sometimes things just don't make it into being a record. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that's another incident that kind of fueled my passion for preserving these records for the future. And then challenges more currently. So at the moment, I'm a records manager. So my main challenges are kind of dealing with sensitivity in documents. So on the opposite side, really, of that, of things that we have to withhold. Working how we're going to redact things, but keep as much of the record intact so that at least some of that information can be accessible to the public. So yeah, working around that, we don't really get too much pushback on that because nobody knows we're doing it yet. It hasn't been transferred to TNA. But hopefully when that work does conclude and it's able to be viewed by the public, it'll be really useful for them.
So, if you had to talk about what is your favorite thing or favorite, like, what do you like to do, or what do you like most about working in the field? What would be your answer? Yeah,
that's interesting. I think I like the sense of community a lot. It's something that I've really seen through, the listservs that we have of the various organizations, conferences they hold. And also just, being a new professional, my network mainly consists of my organization, but even from other people in my organization, they're always willing to, pass on their contacts to me. If I ever need advice on a specific area, it feels very easy and open to be able to contact somebody, you've never spoken to before, and ask for their advice. So yeah, I really enjoy the kind of community spirit of the sector. That we're all willing to help each other, to share our knowledge. We're not secretive about any, of the projects we undertake. And we're always happy to pass on learning and tips. And, we found this cool new tool that'll make this easier for you. And yeah, I find it really nice. And that's something that I don't think I've witnessed very much in other sectors, especially, ones that are more kind of profit driven, where information will be withheld that way. Yeah, so I feel like we really live up to our values of providing access to information because we do it between ourselves.
and are there any aspects that you think can or should be improved in the field? With your experience, what do you think needs to be improved?
I think mainly from my fairly limited experience at this time, my main area is access to the field. I've experienced quite a few barriers trying to join myself, and these are ongoing as I look to undertake a professional qualification. I think there's some great work starting to go on with various organizations supporting new professionals and professional development, and also things like, I know ARA have pay recommendations, which they do post up on job listings and give some pushback to when organizations are trying to underpay their professionals. So I think there's some great recognition of our skills and our worth coming from inside of organizations in the community, but we're still facing challenges in convincing the wider world of that, and opening up those opportunities for new professionals. I know there's going to be some apprenticeship schemes coming in the UK, which I'm really excited to see how they go for the sector, because I think that would be a great new route in, rather than the traditional master's degree that we have, and would definitely open it up to a lot more people, and people from varying backgrounds as well, which is, I think, something that we're all aware we need to improve.
Yeah, thank you for that. I definitely agree with you in terms of access Yeah, I think it's a problem everywhere that needs to be dealt with, and also recognition, because I believe the work that we do, it's more important like any other careers. So we also need recognition. So what do you think is the biggest challenge for the new professionals in this field?
I don't know if I could speak for everybody, but I think the biggest challenge for me, especially that I've been finding lately, is kind of advocacy for myself as a new professional, somebody who has specialist skills, and I know what I'm talking about. But then also for, say my records management department within my organization, how can I advocate for, the work we do, the use we are, and the real importance we are to the organization up to, say, the senior management level. I think that is kind of the real challenge I'm working on day to day. And I suppose that, as I previously said, that branches out wider into, advocating for bringing new people into the sector, creating those role opportunities, those, support schemes to get people onto courses, to get people, the pre-course experience that they need, and get that to be recognized, paid, proper hours rather than voluntary unpaid internships, which it mainly is at the moment. That's my thoughts on that.
You talk about volunteering, and it sounds like you did a lot of volunteering. Can you share a little bit more of that? Some of the positives and negatives from those volunteering opportunities?
I think the positives of the volunteering opportunities were they were mainly quite short term, generally because of the resources available in each organisation I was with to manage a volunteer. So that allowed me to go to a lot of different places and get a wide range of experience, see a lot of different styles of archives and records management as well, which helped me to narrow down my interest and my focus going into my professional career. But I think the main kind of negative there is, as I spoke about before, I was doing that alongside my studies by my choice because I wanted to kind of get in there. I was really passionate and I wanted to start getting that experience. But actually since, finishing my degree and looking for a professional role, or deciding whether I would go straight into a master's, I have found that, the majority of opportunities do continue to be voluntary, even after you've got a good few years, even for me, experience under your belt, or they are kind of fairly low paid and often below pay recommendations, which in some cases is outside of the control of the organisation, but it's not a great state for the sector to be in. So yeah, I was very lucky to find the role I'm currently in, which is, fairly paid professional role. But I was struggling for quite a while, about a year and a half up until that point, taking on jobs in other sectors so that I could continue volunteering, to keep, my foot in the door, keep my interest in the profession going, and have that proven interest, which is so often asked for on job applications. So yeah, I think it's a lot of work to get your foot in the door. And yes, it shows your dedication and your passion. It's great that we will essentially only have people who really care in the sector. That's kind of a positive effect, but also when I think about, how many people just aren't able to do that. I mean, I struggled, but so many people will have just had to give up on their dream. And I think that's really sad and unfortunate and shouldn't happen. And we should be doing a lot more to reduce those barriers, and where we can't reduce them immediately, to support people to overcome them.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's a lot of unpaid labor that goes that happens in the archival field. So you said that it took you a year and a half to get your job, your current job, your
Yes.
position. How did you come around that opportunity? How was it?
It was posted on the Archives NRA listserv, which is where I find most of my opportunities, paid or unpaid, which again is a really great community tool. We don't just have jobs on there, we have discussions and advice. So it's a great place to be on for me. Yeah, so I had been continuously applying for every role that I could support myself financially on in the sector that came up on that listserv for about a year and a half whilst working elsewhere. And yeah, I had some hard times, I had some disappointing times going through interviews, getting knocked back, but I'm really glad that I never gave up on it, because you know, somehow, some turn of fate, this role is actually really well suited for me. I really enjoy the work I do, and it's not necessarily something I would have thought I'd be doing. I had the transferable skills into this role, but it's not something I had experience of before. So yeah, in a way, I'm kind of glad I didn't get those other jobs, because this one feels really perfect for me.
So from volunteering from different organizations, so what did you learn, like in those organizations about the field? Is it, do they use same systems, or did you have to learn different systems from different institutions that you engage with during that time?
Yeah, I think first of all, I learned kind of all my basic archival skills there. I had never done a training course before. I kind of just jumped into volunteering, but with nothing but my passion to guide me. And I'm grateful those organisations took me on with when I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, everything from kind of like manual handling, cataloguing. I even dabbled in a bit of conservation, which looking back, not sure why they let me do that. I was not trained, but I'm grateful for the experience. Yeah, so I kind of mainly did that, and again worked in quite a lot of the public facing side. So a lot of dealing with users and readers, answering inquiries, which I found really fulfilling. And then also into more kind of document services like records retrieval from stores, etc. So those are kind of the main skills I'd learned throughout my volunteering. In terms of if they use the same systems, I suppose the principles were the same everywhere I went, but everybody's archive was kind of in a different state of organisation. So I had to be adaptable there to bring the skills I'd learned from one place to the new one. In terms of software, kind of for cataloguing, most places either used an in-house built system, so that was something new to learn, or Calm was really popular. So I got some experience in that. And then on the side, whenever a training course did come up that was free, I would do that as well. So I did the Digital Preservation Coalition's Novice to Know-How series. And it was actually through doing those courses just by myself through lockdown that I ended up with the role I'm in now in digital preservation, just from that very small amount of experience. So yeah, I think one of my kind of philosophies is to always be kind of trying new things, learning new areas. I'm doing a mixed collections management course this week, which is something I don't have, you know, in-person experience in. But yeah, I'm always happy to be learning a new area of the field. It's so vast and it's always growing, and there's always, you know, new things to learn, new ways of working that people are coming up with, which is really exciting to me.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, yeah, we're all trying to do so many things, and it's good to always have like different experience and to dabble a little bit on everything. You talk about skills, and so I want to know about like the discrepancies between your actual studies, what you learned in grad school, and actual real life experience. Was there like a discrepancy?
So I haven't done my master's yet. So I'll actually be applying this year. Please wish me luck. Yeah, I chose the route of going down, getting more experience in kind of a full-time professional role. I needed to work anyway. I needed to pay my bills, and I really, if I could make it happen, wanted it to be in archives and records management. So I've been very lucky to get into that. Yeah, and as I said, perfect role for me. So my organization is very flexible, very supportive with training, which is great. So I'm in a great position now to go and do my accredited qualification over the next year. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, I think I suppose I can say a bit about what I expect the difference to be. So I'm looking at doing one of the qualifications, the UCL Archives and Records Management, which I've heard from people that have done it before, and from lecturers on the course, that it's a bit more theoretical. So I'm really interested in that. I come from kind of that theoretical background as well, having done anthropology. I'm interested in the whys behind why we do things, and how we can change that to be more inclusive and more beneficial as a whole for our profession. So I'm really looking forward to that. And kind of because of that, I'm glad that I have had a bit more of a practical experience beforehand as well, and I'll continue to have it as I do the course. So I'm looking forward to applying each crossways to each other.
Okay, that's so interesting, Megan. And we wish you a good luck with the masters.
Thank you.
Yeah. So are you involved with the ICA? Are you part of the committees that we have, or are you just a member? And yeah, you can start there.
Yeah, no, I'm not involved with any of the committees. Our national organization, the ARA, I'm thinking I might join the Archives and Technology committee soon as their training officer. I think I've got about enough time to manage to do that as well. So that's something I'm currently looking at. I haven't looked into any of the ICA committees, but I'll pop on your website after this call and see if I can drop a few hours in somewhere as well for you guys. Yeah, I think it's great that there are actually quite a few organisations for archives and records management, and especially there's an international one like the ICA, because as I said before, community is such a huge part and a huge benefit of this sector to me. It's wonderful that we have an international community as well, and you do such great work drawing people from all over the world together and helping us to share our knowledge.
So did you engage with some of the materials that are provided online by the ICA? If so, or if not, can you please recommend like any ideas for ICA? Where can it improve? What can they do better or upgrade? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've had a look. I do go through, all of the various organizations' websites periodically, see what's new, see either, what you're up to, what new events you've got coming up, new trainings you're putting on. So I think that's a really useful part of your organization and your website. It's great that you as an organization are kind of committed to continuing the professional development of the sector as a whole, and really supporting on that. I don't know about recommendations. I think you're doing a great job. Yeah, I think it's great that you put this survey out and now you're hosting this interview series. I'm sure you'll do, great data work with the results of your survey and bring out some recommendations for how, new professionals can be better supported. And it's great that you're kind of trying a different format here to broaden the access to everybody. Yeah, I don't know if I have any tips. Just keep up the good work.
And what about like new professionals? Do you have any tips, recommendations that you would like to give to new professionals that are just starting?
This is a really difficult one because everybody's situation is different and I don't want to generalize. I mean, the easiest tip to give is, just don't give up, but it's not always that easy. So I think if you're a new professional and you can, try and start building your network early. Try and get the support from, other people in the sector especially that have faced similar barriers to you or are currently facing them, and you can support each other. I think that's something that I was really lacking, and now I have more of that network. I really see the benefit of it. So yeah, even if it's through you're doing a volunteering program and there's fellow volunteers with similar ambitions to you, keep in contact with them after it's ended, check in with each other, and see, how your journeys are progressing and how you can support each other. Yeah, as I mentioned, I've definitely seen signs that a lot more support for new professionals and new ways into the profession is starting to come out. So yeah, keep your eye on the ball there. Be involved with things like listservs and professional bodies as much as you can. Even if you're in the position that I was, where I wasn't eligible to be a member yet. I wish that I'd still kind of checked the website more often. Seen what free training was coming up, read their blog posts more than I did. Just kind of any way that you can kind of amass that knowledge that doesn't necessarily take too much of like your free time or your working time. Yeah, I think that would be my main advice. Is so I do know some people that do still struggle to find the time to volunteer, especially alongside full-time working. It's something I managed, but I realized that that's not always possible for everybody. They might have other responsibilities that take precedent. So if you can't do the active physical work in the sector at the moment, try and just kind of keep your mind and your soul engaged. See what the community is doing, read articles, read blog posts, try your best to keep up to date with developments. Just anything that kind of keeps that spark, that passion alive for you, to work towards that. That would be my advice.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I don't think so. It was great. Thanks very much for having me. I'm really pleased to be able to share my experiences, and hopefully my advice is helpful for somebody out there.
Trust us. I think the new professional stories are definitely something very important for organizations to make programs and to make training. So yeah, your story is very valuable. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much for making time to meet with us. Your input is very beneficial. It will really help the new upcoming new professionals. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate this interview with you.
Great, thanks so much for having me.